Ketosis is the first metabolic disease that encounter with the animal just after calving. So it is the insufficient glucose in the blood that cause the ketosis. So if we see the clinical ketosis, the range of blood BHBA will be more than 3 millimole per liter in the clinical ketosis, and in the subclinical ketosis it will be range between 1 to 2.9 or 3 millimole per liter. The incidence of clinical ketosis is very low, 3%. The incidence of subclinical ketosis will range between 25 to 50% of the herd, and the fat cause and the cause in the higher lactations are predisposed to clinical ketosis. A ration that is at risk, NFC less than 38%, NFC is the non-fibrous carbohydrate portion of the ration. Same for both. These are clinical signs for the clinical ketosis: drop in the intake, drop in the milk production, in some cases nervous signs, acetonoma, smell, high milk fat and low protein. And for the clinical signs for the subclinical ketosis: low milk protein, low milk peak, low BCS, poor fertility and poor immunity, higher incidence of health issues in the early lactation. So here the subclinical ketosis is the matter of concern because the incidence is very high. So incidence of subclinical ketosis, the prevalence of this metabolic disorder will be in the first week of the lactation. You can see here the percentage is very high in the first week. According to this study of Journal of Dairy Science, the BHBA level will be 1.2 to 2.9 millimole per liter. So how we can diagnose this situation, the subclinical ketosis and clinical ketosis? We will conduct first test at day 5 and then cross check the animals at days 30 to 40. At day 30 to 40 we will have very less cases if the management is very poor or if we are in the heat stress period. Otherwise, the majority of the cases the prevalence will be around day 5. The reference point for the blood glucose is 0.4 to 0.6 gram per liter, and if the animal is less than 0.4 gram per liter blood glucose level, then it can lead towards the energy deficit and can lead towards the subclinical ketosis or clinical ketosis. So blood BHBA level for the subclinical ketosis, if the blood BHB level is more than 1.1 millimole per liter, it is subclinical ketosis, and if it is more than 3 millimole per liter, it is clinical ketosis. Blood NEFA more than 1.4 millimole per liter after calving is subclinical ketosis. So this is an Abbott meter available in the market. We can use this meter for blood glucose check and for detection of the blood BHB level. Two different strips will be used in this same meter for blood glucose level and for blood BHB level. So here we are summarizing some studies that are showing the economical impact of the subclinical ketosis on the profitability. We will see the reduced milk yield, that can cause 100 to 400 euro loss per lactation, 1.2 to 3.3 kg per day loss in the production, and approximately 1100 kg per lactation loss of the yield. In terms of fertility, it can increase the calving interval by 15 days, can add a 15 days in the calving interval, and that can cause a 50 euro loss on per animal basis. So it can cause a reduced conception rate, reduced pregnancy rate, risk of non-ovulation at day 60 to 70 will be increased by 50% in the herd. So other postpartum health issues can cause a loss of 50 euro. So you can observe the 4 to 8% higher risk of LDA in your herd, and increased mastitis risk and reduced immunity can be observed in the herd with the subclinical ketosis prevalence. According to this study, the immunosuppression can be observed with the spontaneous ketonemia, so it can increase the susceptibility towards the mastitis. So in the first 30 days we can have a high incidence of mastitis due to ketosis and due to subclinical ketosis. So what are the solution and how we can manage this problem? We should avoid the long dry period, we should avoid the fat cows around calving, and we should balance the ration in terms of energy, proteins and minerals, and we should manage the decade levels negative before calving. Good transition management in terms of housing, in terms of nutritional management. Importance of prepartum intake. We should maintain a prepartum intake around 12 to 14 kg. It will help to increase the dry matter intake in the early lactation. For the fresh cow management, we should feed excellent forages, feed ad libidum, we should feed energy and niacin, we should feed rumen protected choline, accessible clean and fresh water. The choline and the niacin will both help to reduce the fat mobilization and will help in the energy metabolism. Comfortable bedding should be provided. Avoid all kind of stresses like heat stress, social stress. Cure quickly diseases like mastitis, metritis and lameness. Feeding guidelines for the transition cow. According to the dry matter basis, the CP should be 14 to 15% of the dry matter in the close-up and 18 to 19% in the fresh cow ration. And if we see about the energy values, net energy lactation megacalories per kg of dry matter should be 1.4 to 1.5% in the close-up ration and 1.8 to 2.2% in the fresh ration. And NDF levels must be around 35% in the close-up and 32% in the fresh ration. And NFC should be around 34% in the close-up and 38% in the fresh ration. And if we see calcium levels, it should be 0.6% in the close-up ration and 0.8 to 1% in the fresh ration. If you are not balancing the decade, then this percentage of calcium must be in the close-up, and if you are balancing the decade, then the levels of the calcium will be higher. Another important ingredient is the magnesium. Magnesium should be 0.4 to 0.25, 0.3%, 0.4 in the close-up and 0.3% in the fresh ration. So the following are the guidelines for the vitamins. We should maintain or we should balance our ration according to these guidelines. This will help to reduce the all metabolic disorders in the herd. So we should balance and we should prepare our close-up and fresh ration according to these guidelines. Another important point is subacute ruminal acidosis, because we are shifting animal from dry ration to a lactating ration, from the low concentrate diet to a high concentrate diet. So we should avoid the subacute ruminal acidosis. So if we will face this problem, this will further decrease the dry matter intake. So we have to provide with the buffers and live yeast. These both will be helpful, but on the other hand, we should provide a better and good levels of NDF in the forage, good chop size, and we should balance accordingly so that we should avoid the situation. Otherwise we will face poor appetite, low dry matter intake, low digestibility and poor microbial growth. So we are going to talk about the commercial additives and the solution that can help the fresh cow, and that can help to increase the blood calcium level and blood glucose level, and that can increase the dry matter intake. The first product that I am going to discuss is YMCP. That product is from Techmix USA, and in Pakistan Ghazi Brother is the distributor of the product. This product is providing us 4 types of calcium. So these calcium will be helpful to maintain a good calcium level, good blood calcium level in the fresh animals, around 8.8 mg per deciliter in the blood, and it has 5 different type of glucose. So these different glucose energy sources will be helpful to increase the energy density and will be helpful to maintain a high blood calcium level, high blood glucose level in the fresh animal. 2 types of yeast. These yeast will be helpful to increase the dry matter intake and will be helpful to increase the microbial proteins and will be helpful to increase the volatile fatty acids. it also have electrolytes and some minerals, and it has zinc chelates, and it has vitamins. So it has a special electrolyte betaine that is called chiasmolite in this product, that will be helpful to rehydrate the animal. Another solution is a glycolin from the Vitalec France. So this product is based on the glucose precursor. It has 4 types of glucose precursor, mainly based on the MPG monopropylene glycol. So, and also has a niacin and cobalt. So this product will be helpful in the close-up and in the fresh animals to maintain a good blood calcium, a good blood glucose level, and will be helpful to limit the fat mobilization. So what is the protocol? So what is the function of cobalt and niacin briefly? It will help. Cobalt will help the entrance of propionate into the Krebs cycle, and it is also required by the rumen bacteria. So rumen microbe will also require cobalt as a vitamin B12 precursor. Niacin, it will reduce the fat mobilization, it will stimulate the gluconeogenesis, it will cause the catabolism of the ketones, and it will be helpful in the heat tolerance. So what is the protocol of the glycolin? Glycolin should be used 3 weeks before calving and 4 weeks after calving. For liquid, this is the dosage 150 ml before and 200 to 250 ml after calving. And for the powder, 150 to 200 grams before calving and 250 to 300 grams after calving. So composition of a Fubon active dye yeast and how it can help the situation. So what is the mechanism of action of the yeast? This is a product having 20 billion CFU per gram. How it can help the situation? Mode of action of the Fubon live yeast. Standard rumen with no live yeast is not anaerobic due to oxygen consumed with the feed and saliva. So live yeast will consume the oxygen in the rumen and provide anaerobic condition for the senolytic bacteria and for the other bacteria, the lactic acid consumers. So in the return, we will have high volatile fatty acids production, high microbial protein outflow, good rumen environment, reduced acidosis risk, and high dry matter intake and high milk production. So that's why we are using live yeast to promote the dry matter intake. Another useful tool to increase the energy density is the dry fats and bypass fats. So example product is Energizer Gold, that can be used in the fresh zone to increase the Russian energy density, because we are facing low dry matter intake and energy deficit in the fresh zone. So this product can be helpful in this zone. So if you have any question, kindly email. Thank you.